Hello, and welcome to Pressing Buttons. I'm Hugo.
I'm Nick.
Another great week, another great episode coming at you. We are live. Well, we are live, but this is a recording. We're back with episode 72 of Pressing Buttons. No real housekeeping today. It's been a bit of a slow week in terms of video game news. Still, everybody's still recuperating from the vacation, mid-year vacation that everybody's taking. So a little bit of light news this week in terms of video game news, but we still got some information to share with you guys.
We'll figure out a way to make this an hour-long episode.
Yeah, or
Don't you worry.
hopefully not. I don't I don't want to be here an hour.
Yeah, actually, no. A 30-minute episode sounds pretty nice,
Yeah.
actually. So we'll see what happens.
Our listeners will be like, finally, they can shut the fuck up early. But yeah, we'll start it right off. Just saying that our national nightmare is over. The Microsoft buyout of Activision Blizzard has finally gone through. So as you guys know,
in the U.S., not everywhere.
yeah, that's why it's a national.
Almost. Okay.
I almost put international, then I forgot that the UK is still battling it out there.
Yeah.
But I know we haven't really covered a lot of it in the podcast because obviously it's a little bit of an annoying bit of news, and we kind of figured eventually it was going to go through. But there wasn't a lot of big developments that were being figured out. They were still just trying to buy Activision Blizzard, and Sony was trying to block it. So eventually we knew it was going to go through because money is money and people want to make money. So, but finally the FTC's case got shut down, their final request to stop the buyout. So the $69 billion deal is going through. Which just basically means what it meant from the beginning, that now Microsoft is going to be able to fully own Activision Blizzard. They'll be able to do whatever they want with the franchises that they have. They did agree to a 10-year Call of Duty deal to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for at least the next 10 years, which is kind of the same deal that they've worked with all the other companies like Nvidia and Nintendo, so they could have Call of Duty there. So that's a no-brainer. Obviously, one of the big things from the filings was that Call of Duty is a big seller on PlayStation, and that was ultimately kind of Sony's big argument against the acquisition, but it went through anyways. But like I said, it's more of a nightmare being over just because we don't have to hear about this thing anymore, because it was a stupid lawsuit just kind of getting extended for a year and a half. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think like we can move on now and focus on the games? Is it going to be like a quick turnaround?
That's the more interesting thing is like, what is Microsoft actually going to do with this company now that they own it? I think this might have been one of within our first 5 episodes, I think, so this is like over a year ago at this point, but this deal was announced and we talked a little bit about it. I think I need to go back and check the records, but I'm pretty sure I was like, yeah, I think it's going to go through. It's just going to be a painful process, and people are going to make it very difficult for Microsoft just because it's such I think a lot of regulatory bodies are starting to get more interested in the games industry just because it's gotten so big and there's so much attention around it. And also just the price tag of this specific deal is just like, it's a big number. So I think it's just going to get a lot of attention in these types of proceedings. So, but I just couldn't think, I was like somewhat following, like the week to week news. I didn't think there was really anything that interesting to talk about on our show. So that's why we just kind of decided to not talk about it that much. I think a lot of very interesting information and data points was exposed as a part of this. So maybe that's like one of the positive things. Like if you're interested in the business of video games, like there was like a lot of juicy stuff that kind of came out of all the different documents and interviews and things like that. So I guess that was kind of cool if you're interested in that stuff. But other than that, it's just like, I don't like, what's the reason? Like, why wouldn't they allow them to do this? Particularly given that Microsoft's been doing it, Sony's been doing it, I think, even more. So like the playbook of just acquiring IP, acquiring game development studios, acquiring mobile gaming studios. So I think everyone's been kind of doing it. I guess again, this was just kind of like the biggest one, so they just wanted to make it make it difficult, but I think it'll go through. There's still the CMA in the UK that needs to approve the deal. If for some reason they don't approve the deal, I think Microsoft can kind of figure out a workaround to make everyone happy. So I just, you know, it is what it is. But what does Microsoft actually do now that they have Activision Blizzard under their umbrella? And I think that's that kind of remains to be seen. I think Microsoft suddenly becomes one of the biggest mobile gaming companies through King. So that's kind of interesting. A ton of attention was placed on Call of Duty, which I think Call of Duty should definitely be a key consideration of this deal. But I think in certain situations it was made as if it was like the only thing that mattered, which I thought was kind of silly. And I think I'm specifically thinking around like Blizzard, where they have some of the most valuable IP in games. Also, you know, I would argue some of the best of, like, maybe not everyone agrees with it, but they have a lot of expertise in terms of building, quote, live service games, which that was like the whole reason PlayStation bought Bungie, was for that kind of domain expertise and know-how. So I don't know, I think there's just like there's a lot more interesting stuff going on in this acquisition than just Call of Duty, and making sure that, like, you know, Xbox isn't just trying to make it exclusive. And what exactly that is, I think, remains to be seen, and we probably won't see the value of that or see the outcome of that for many years to come.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting part, like you said, because now we move on to the game part of it, and obviously with the main purpose of this acquisition is to provide a huge catalog for Microsoft to have for their Game Pass offerings and exclusive games as Starfield and so on and so on. The games that are coming out in the future, it'll be interesting, obviously, to see if they kind of stay in step with this line of thinking of offering everything on Game Pass that they have, and also kind of keeping certain titles exclusive only to the Xbox ecosystem or PC. Or if eventually they do cave and they see that they're not getting as much revenue, and then they decide to kind of go back and start developing games for PlayStation. So maybe we'll see a year from now, if it's not working out, we'll see Starfield being ported over to the PS5, which is still possible. So
yeah. If one idea I just thought of, if I wanted to be just like a complete dick, one thing I would greenlight, which maybe makes no sense, but again, just if you wanted to be a dickhead, is I would greenlight an Xbox exclusive Crash Bandicoot game. Because Activision has the, you know, that's like what they have the rights to that. So Xbox exclusive Crash Bandicoot game, because, and maybe we're dating ourselves, but the reason that would be funny is because that was basically like the big mascot for PlayStation. When the PlayStation first launched,
the unofficial PlayStation 1 mascot.
Yeah. So that'd be kind of funny.
Well, you know, if people like to be things, it's dicks. They like to be dicks. So hopefully somebody does it. But yeah, that does it for that part of the news. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the future, and we'll keep you guys updated, whatever news we hear. All right. Next thing we want to talk about is a couple departures. We have Larry Herb. I always found his last name is spelled so weirdly, and it's a Herb.
I actually have no idea. I actually had the same when I saw this, like, you know, Twitter post come through and people talking about it. I'm like, I actually have no idea how to say his last name.
Hopefully I'm right. So
yeah.
Basically, Larry Herb announced that he's leaving Xbox. He's been the director of programming for at least 20 years. He's also the host of the Major Nelson Radio podcast, which he did for 15 years, I believe, where he recorded episodes just kind of going over Xbox stuff and giving his thoughts out and stuff like that. And he's finally remembered, well, not that he's dead, That sounded kind of weird. He is going to be remembered for just kind of like the Xbox 360 renaissance, I want to say, just because he was kind of like a big face for that era where the Xbox 360 dominated the gaming market. He was always on there with the presentations and with the community and stuff like that. He was heavily invested in the community, which you don't see a lot of faces like these in the gaming industry. And the ones you do see are very recognizable, like Reggie Fils-Aimé and Hideo Kojima and stuff like that. Like, you know, you have these characters. So he was definitely like the number one for Xbox. And then we have Naughty Dog co-president Evan Wells. He's retiring completely, which I don't trust, because whenever one of these big guys always says they're like retiring or something, you see him pop up a couple months later with a new studio or whatever. So, but he says he's retiring from Naughty Dog. He's been co-president since 2004. Neil Druckmann will now take over as the sole president for now. Usually they have co-presidents to kind of make it work, and it's worked out for them for a while. Very interesting news on both ends, especially one being for the major publisher Xbox, and then the other one being for a developer as Naughty Dog. Tackling the Larry Herb news, it is kind of, you know, a bit sad. I hadn't seen a lot from him in a while. I guess, you know, it being the Xbox Series X and S, kind of shifting towards. I've seen a lot more of Phil Spencer and such other people. So it's very interesting. So maybe he decided to kind of move away from that just because he hasn't been a big presence on the Xbox side of it. So sad to see him go, but I'm very looking forward to whatever he comes up with. Obviously, I think he'll stay in the gaming market and kind of do something which we'll still be seeing him for a while. What are your thoughts on Larry Herb leaving and kind of leaving a void on Xbox when they need it the most? They need these type of people.
They need them the most. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's a very long time to be working at the same company. So I think it's, you know, I like to think that it's just like a very natural, like he's done a lot. He's ready to move on.
Don't tell that to anybody working on Nintendo.
But no, I think it is kind of a bummer though, right? Because I think he was definitely like fan favorite. Maybe like one of the earlier kind of personas or people who just like, it was like the new way of engaging with the community. Because I mean, he's been doing it for so long, right? So yeah, I guess going back to, what was it, Xbox 360 or?
I'm pretty sure like from original Xbox, but like you mainly saw him at 360.
Public,
yeah.
Yeah. In terms of being like more of like a public personality, like I think this is like a cool and innovative way of engaging with the community, and I think he's just kind of built on that over the years. And yeah, I think people just really like him, and they're bummed to see him go, but yeah, I think, you know, he's kind of move on sometimes. Did I ever tell you I mean, this is like a total non-story, but I actually saw him one time. I was like, I was working in Union Square. So this was probably, I have no idea, 2013, 2012.
Don't date yourself, bro.
Who knows? Yeah, it was a while ago, man. But anyway, I was just like, it was lunchtime. I was working. It was like a work day. It was lunchtime. I walked outside my building, and then Major Nelson walked right by.
Did you say something? Did you say, hey?
Of course I didn't. No, of course I didn't. No. Well, this is what I really want to, how I approach that versus how you would approach that. But I saw him just like kind of like storming by. And then I think Microsoft was doing some sort of event. I think maybe they still have one, or they used to, but they used to have kind of like an events space in that area. So I think Xbox was doing something, and that's why he was in that area. But so I saw him, and of course, I'm not the type of person to like, hey, like, take a photo with me. Whereas I know if you saw him, you'd be like,
yeah, I feel like that was a very bad impression.
Like, where are you going? Where are you going? Can I come?
I would not be like, where are you going? Where are you going? Can I come? I would be like, oh, hey, it's Major Nelson. What's up? Can you give me an Xbox or something? No, I would.
You would ask for physical goods.
I mean, I not in the beginning. I would kind of sweeten him up to it. Like work
Okay.
him. You can't go straight for the gifts right away. You got to work him into it. But I would have
Okay.
said something. I would have said because I'm pretty sure he seems like a nice enough person that you could be like, hey, Major Nelson, Larry Herb. Do you say Herb or Herb?
That was my opportunity
Yeah.
to get definitive guidance on how to say his last name, but so yeah, that's my Major Nelson story. Uh, for I think for Naughty Dog, it's kind of I guess it's similar. Like the guy's been there forever, so and um yeah, it's time going. And I think I think Neil Druckmann's been in a co-president role
Since
for a
2000,
while
yeah,
now.
I was gonna say 2002. Since 2020, I believe he's been
Okay. So
co-president.
I think they were probably talking about this type of exit for a while. So I think they kind of did that co-president structure, anticipating Evan maybe moving on sometime in the near future. So yeah, I don't really anticipate there being any big shakeup or anything like that. I think that this is just kind of like part of the plan.
Yeah, with the Naughty Dog one, I don't really see any big shakeups, but I see it more of an interesting point of future developments. Just because, obviously, like you said, Neil Druckmann has been kind of the co-president for a couple of years. Things have kind of moved on where they're giving him more control. Obviously, with the Last of Us TV show on Max being such a big hit, and him being a big part of that, leading the game, The Last of Us One, and also Uncharted and stuff like that. Obviously, they're going to give him more power. It is very interesting, part of the studio. Not that anything wrong is happening with them, but obviously with the reports of the factions aspect of The Last of Us 2 getting delayed or not working out really well. They really haven't announced any games, even though they say that they're working on stuff. You don't really have a clear idea of what they're doing. So it is very interesting. I would just say on that end of it, where like the studio, this is kind of like the shadiest it's been in a while, where you don't know where Naughty Dog is leading to. But they have a good track record, and Sony's been able to handle their in-house studios pretty well, where they don't fail. So hopefully it doesn't affect them. They don't skip a beat, and they just keep going, and we get more information soon on whatever they're working on and what this means. All right. Next thing we want to talk about is a new Black Panther game. So EA has announced a new Black Panther game. Looks like it's going to be single player. It's being developed by Cliffhanger Studios, which is made up of former developers that worked at Monolith Studios, which were the creators of Shadow of Mordor, which, if you didn't play, it was a very great game. They had a great Nemesis system, so that worked really well. And then this is another game in the long line of future Marvel games that are coming out. As if you guys don't know, Amy Hennig, who worked on Uncharted 2, is also working on a Captain America Black Panther game at Skydance Studios, also for, I believe it's EA, or it might be Ubisoft. One of those two. And then EA Motive is working on an Iron Man game, and that's besides the already Marvel Avengers game that came out by Crystal Dynamics, and then the Guardians of the Galaxy game. So obviously Marvel, being such a big IP, and all their characters and stuff like that, and then all the movies and stuff like that. It's good to see that they are working on this, just because, one, it's Black Panther, good character. I'm tired of seeing kind of the same Avengers or the same Marvel characters being done over and over in video games. So I'm glad that we're going to be seeing at least another aspect of it. But it's going to be very interesting, just because I know the Captain America and Black Panther game that they're working for at Skydance, that one's going to be set like in the 1940s or something like that. So it's going to be one of T'Challa's ancestors, where this one is probably going to be more of a modern one take on it. But I'm all for it. We're big superhero fans. We love seeing what gets introduced to the genre and just how they deal with it, and how it's presented and gameplay and all that stuff. I'm excited for this. Any thoughts on Black Panther?
Well, yeah, I think I was surprised by how they announced it. It was just like I just woke up and it was like some kind of like boring looking tweet about like, "Hey, new Black Panther game and the new studio from these people, and so I think this must be like the game must have gotten greenlit like last week. And I think they're just using the tweet as like a means to like almost like a recruitment mechanism to help like just get generate interest and get people to actually join this new studio. And I think for a lot of people, Marvel or Black Panther and that IP is something that could get people interested to join. So but yeah, you maybe kind of expect to see like something like even like cinematic. But yeah, I wonder if this is like a trend of people just dropping tweets of just like, hey, new game. So I thought that was kind of funny. I'm actually probably more interested in for some reason like the Civil War Captain America versus Black Panther set back in the fort, like at least for me, like that just didn't sound that interesting. So I'm actually much more interested in like a standalone like Black Panther, whatever that means, like Black Panther only, and then just like really diving into that. So I'm more interested in this one than the other one, but we'll know. I'm also surprised that there's two. Like presumably these will both be like AAA giant games, both featuring Black Panther, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting what route they both take, kind of seeing the differences. Hopefully, they are not very similar, because then that would just totally suck. And then we're gonna have to compare both of them, which we're gonna do anyways, because they'll have some of the same characters. But it is very interesting, as you know, right now with the writer strike and the actor strike that's going on in Hollywood. I know for San Diego Comic Con, they're not gonna be doing a lot of presentations for any upcoming movies or anything like that. But because video games aren't part of that, there will be a big presence in video games. So it'll be interesting to see if we see any updates on these titles or anything showing forward. I know Marvel will be doing something for Spider-Man 2, where they'll be like showcasing, I guess, more of Venom and the game itself. So it'll be interesting to see if they also take this opportunity to kind of showcase a lot of these other titles, just because they can't be showing any movies or anything like that, and they can't be talking about it. So I'm super excited for that part, at least. Any video game aspect that has to do with comics or anything like that they'll be showcasing at San Diego Comic Con. So we'll keep an eye on that, and obviously we'll show and discuss any news that comes out of that. All right. Next thing we want to talk about is something weird, but funny. It's the Assassin's Creed Haptic shirt. For those unaware,
Oh my god,
well, it's funny. It's funny, but we're gonna talk
it's
about
funny.
it. It's because it's
funny.
funny.
No, you nailed it. It's funny and it's weird.
And it's weird and it's dumb. But basically, Ubisoft announced that they are partnering with this company. I believe it's called OWO, and it's basically a company that makes these haptic shirts that react to whatever you're doing, whatever you're playing. If you're unfamiliar, and you've seen the movie Ready Player One, how they have that full bodysuit, and at one point there's one that actually mimics whatever is happening to you in the game, where they kick a guy in the balls and then he gets kicked in the balls in real life, which I think was the dumbest thing. But this looks to be just, a little bit less intense than that, where it'll just simulate what's happening in the new Assassin's Creed Mirage game, and kind of give you feedback through the shirt, which, it's a little bit cool. Ubisoft, if you want to send me a free shirt, I will try it out, even though I think it's a very dumb and funny and weird thing. But this is the future of video games. Obviously, you have like the dual sense with the haptic feedback on the rumble and the type of games you play. This is an evolution. If might not be the right evolution, I would say, for certain people, but it's good to see new type of ways to be able to immerse yourself in the games, and maybe this will work. If it doesn't, they can try something else and see if it catches on with people. Any thoughts on this? Is this a shirt you might want to buy?
No, No, I think that this is the perfect evolution of the Assassin's Creed franchise, in my opinion.
They're not gonna
Uh,
make games anymore. They're just gonna make haptic
yeah, just they're
clothing.
just gonna, create giant maps with a bunch of icons, walk around. Now people can like punch you and you can feel it on your shirt. That's great.
I
Um,
mean,
yeah,
one way that this could be good is for all those like haters that you encounter online, like people that you just want to like, oh, I wish I could just punch you, but now I can punch you directly through your haptic shirt.
yeah, and
No,
also,
no.
I mean, the funniest thing was like the marketing pitch. It was like something about like it's like sensations you've never felt before or something like that. I'm like,
Video games, am I
oh,
right?
okay, that's like that's a little aggressive with how you're selling it, but yeah, it's like what could it be like? Is it just like if you get shot or stabbed or whatever, it's just kind of like
When you're parkouring,
vi-
feel the wind on your body
parkouring?
and the sand, and when you do the
Yeah,
dives and stuff like that, assassinations. Who knows? The potential is limitless.
yeah,
But yeah, so I'm guessing you're not interested.
no,
Oh well, if we
no.
get
I mean, I'm hard out of the
Assassin's
Assassin's Creed
Creed, yeah.
franchise, so yeah,
But
no haptic shirt is gonna get me back into it.
all right, but taking the Assassin's Creed part of it, in terms of just like a new kind of development, in terms of how you of let's say a controller. It's not a controller, but let's say like a controller, or just how to interact with the game in a sense of like what VR would be, or the Wii U nunchucks and stuff like that. Like, what do you think? Do you think this is a good thing that they're developing these type of things for people to experience games differently, or do you think they should pump the brakes?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should definitely experiment. I mean, this is not new. It's not new technology. I mean, I think at a minimum, I mean, there's probably a version of this going back like 15 plus years. I think the most recent one that comes to mind is for Rez, that music rhythm game. I think for PlayStation. I think it was for PlayStation VR. The first one, there was like some sort of like synesthesia, or I'm probably not saying that right, but it's like some sort of suit that was synced to the game. So
Wow, I did not know that.
yeah. I mean, so like this type of stuff's been around. It's just a question of whether it needs to be mainstream. Even the DualSense, there's like there's a couple titles where it's cool. I think that the obvious one's Astrobot. Um, Actually, maybe that's it for me. Like in terms of like all like the haptic feedback and all that stuff. Like that was like it was like kind of cool, but it's pretty gimmicky in my opinion. I don't really enjoy it that much with other games. Like most recently, Final Fantasy 16, where it's like I think when you're trying to ride a chocobo or something, it does a bunch of stuff, and you got to like press real hard. I'm like, I don't like this. Doesn't make the game more immersive to me. Like it's just annoying. So I don't know. I think it's fine if people continue to experiment. I think there's probably going to be like sometime down the road, maybe like one or two titles where it like makes a big difference and it's actually like cool. But other than that, I think it'll just kind of continue to be a gimmick.
Yeah, it'll be a very niche thing. Honestly,
Yeah.
like it is a bit disappointing that I think the only game that made full use of the DualSense that I really enjoyed was Returnal, and I haven't experienced any other game like that where it made full use of it. So with these type of new devices, new ways to feel games and stuff like that, we'll see what the future holds. All right, and then the last bit of news that we want to talk about is a Bungie lawsuit. Just real quick, obviously with how people's information is so accessible on the internet and stuff like that, and people, there's a lot of critics and fans of games and studios that just go reckless sometimes. Recently, Bungie had one of their developers kind of get harassed constantly by a fan, and I'm saying fan in quotation marks because no fan would really do this, but this person was basically harassing one of their developers, sending racist leaving racist voicemails on this developer's phone, as well as his wife's phone, kind of getting their address and sending a pizza to their address, basically letting them know that they knew where to live. But luckily, they contacted the authorities and they were able to sue this person, and they got fined $500,000. But it goes to show you, especially like I was saying, with how easy it is to kind of get people's information or just to be on social media all the time, how nuts some people can go and harass these developers. And here at Pressing Buttons, obviously, we are on the side of the developers. If you don't like the type of things that a game is doing, or you don't like the game or whatever, there's no need to kind of take it overboard and do these type of stupid things where it puts people at risk, and it also gets the studios to kind of take a step back and not interact with the fans, because the mistake of one or the assholery of one kind of fucks it up for everybody else. So that kind of sucks. But it's good to see that there's steps that are being taken to kind of deter people. Hopefully this will deter people from making any more stupid stuff and trying to harass other people. At the end of the day, it's just video games, guys. We want to play video games without all the fuss that the real world is dealing with. Any thoughts on this harassment and the outcomes?
No, I think it's a great outcome. I'm no lawyer, but I think this was like a big kind of legal victory where I think it now establishes a bunch of precedent. I think they even revised legislation or statutes or whatever the right word is, but I think they actually like modified language in that stuff to provide more protection. So I think this was like a pretty big deal. Yeah, I mean, I think it's shitty that this situation exists, but it seems like from a legal perspective, it's a positive story that there's more protection for developers.
And the other side of it too, I like to see that. I know Bungie gets a lot of slack. A lot of people are complaining about Destiny these days with what they want and all that stuff. But one thing about Bungie is that they always protect their people, and it's good to see them fighting these type of things. Obviously, with this type of harassment, they also are heavy on like anti-cheating stuff. They have a couple lawsuits against some companies for that. But it's good to see them. I always like to see when they kind of fight back to these type of things, because one of the things on the internet is like people just don't fight back, and that kind of emboldens these harassers to just keep going. It's good to see them fight for what's right and take care of their own. So props to Bungie. Not everybody hates you. I don't hate you. Well, that does it for all the news. Like we said, light week, but we still found some interesting kernels of news to bring you guys. And we're gonna move on to some closing thoughts. What have I been doing this week? I haven't been playing a lot. Ever since I finished Final Fantasy, I've been meaning to kind of get back on track and start playing Jedi Survivor again, just so I could finish it up, because I was really enjoying it before I started Final Fantasy 16. So I've been trying to get back on that, but just been busy a lot. I have been playing a lot of Destiny 2. Finally, I was able to find a good clan to do raids with. So every day of the week, I did a raid. A raid. Bungie Destiny 2 has so many raids that I was able to do. We found some people that knew what they were doing. So shout outs to Puesto, Boogeyman, Risita, Felix, Jason, who else? Mac, Chasse, big group of guys. We've been able to do a couple raids, get some weapons for people that didn't have weapons and stuff like that. All this being done on our very active, very good Discord community. If you haven't been in there, if you're not in there, make sure you guys get in there to partner up with some people. But been enjoying that. That's what I love about Destiny. Kind of it has its lulls. Like right now, everybody's just waiting for the showcase next month. But it's definitely when you do things like that as a group, I think it brings back the enjoyment of the game. So I've been having a lot of fun with Destiny 2. And in terms of like TV shows and movies, I watched The Bear season 2. Did I? I don't know if I said that last week, but was that one of my closing thoughts?
I don't know. I don't really pay attention
All right.
to what you say in closing thoughts.
So I watched The Bear season 2. It was pretty good. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on Hulu. All I think it's 10 episodes, but definitely a step up from season 1. And season 1 was really good. Very hectic show, but I really really enjoy it. Um, yeah, go check out The Bear. And I also watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which Nick and I talked about. He's a big Guardian fan. Um, and I agree with his rankings. I believe one's the best one, three is the second best one, and then two is the least favorite one. But I think it was a good closeout of the series, a good send off by James Gunn. Now that he's over at DC, I think I enjoyed it more than you did in a sense of like I could see it as better than one. If one established a formula, I think three was really good. I like how they wrapped up a lot of storylines, how the movie ended with where everybody was going and stuff like that. So can't wait to see what they do with these characters. If they make a fourth one without James Gunn and how that will look. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. What about you?
That's cool. Not too much actually. I don't think I really played anything other than weekly game night action. So I'm still like way behind on Final Fantasy 16. I think I have like another 5 or 6 hours to play. So I'm basically
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say I thought you were
I don't
gonna
think I
finish
touched
up.
the game. I don't think I touched the game since last week. I thought I was gonna finish it, but I've just been just busy with random stuff. For game night, we're still playing a lot of Diablo, so that's been pretty consistent since the game launched. We have no idea what we're doing. We've made zero progression towards the campaign.
Better
Like
hurry up. That new season's coming out soon.
when the game first came out, I was playing it pretty hard, and I think I myself got fairly far into the story, but I didn't complete it. But when we've been playing at game night, it's just like I think we just keep like repeating the same missions like immediately outside the first like main hub. Like, the guys that we play with. So I have a mount. They don't have a mount, and they were just like, "Hey, how do we get that? Like, how do you have one and we don't have one?
How do
And
we
it's
get a
just like,
horse? Don't you have to be like
and
level
it's just like-
50
it's like,
or
well,
something
we
to get a
gotta-
horse?
No, you got to get through the first three acts. I think they call them acts. So get through the first three acts. I think we're like we're like not even halfway through Act 1. I'm pretty sure. Like, as a group, so yeah, that's gonna be a while. So we need to next week we're gonna have to be a lot more focused and structured with how we're spending our time to actually make some real progress. But we're having a good time. I think the other side of that is like we haven't been focusing too much on the campaigns just because we just kind of log in and run around and kill shit, and we're having a good time with that too. So
That's what
it's not as bad as it sounds.
That's one thing I noticed, especially like watching you guys play when we log in for game night, that it is kind of mindless where you just go in, you kind of do things, but you're not doing anything. Because it's
I
like,
literally I just spin around and kill shit. Like I'm a barbarian,
Yeah.
so it's like one of the more brain dead builds, I think.
So it's going to be very interesting because Exoprimal just came out, and I'm thinking of getting it. And I know it's on Game Pass, and a lot of you guys that do game night have Game Pass. So I think that will be like that one's actually a game where you got to kind of focus more, in a sense where you got to pay attention to what's on your screen. You got to pay attention to and you got to move around. I feel like I don't know.
Yeah, there's more kind of twitchy. Well, I don't know. I know what you mean. It's more like an FPS, type shooter game.
Action
So
stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a little bit more complexity to the movement. So I think that's right. I would just say I haven't played Exoprimal. but based on what I'm seeing, I would not buy the game yet.
Well, it's on Game Pass, so you get it for free.
I'm gonna play. Yeah, I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
I was more for you because I know you were kind of assuming it was gonna be a great time and you're just gonna like insta buy it. So I would definitely encourage you to hold off until at least a week.
Yeah, well, I was gonna insta buy it to play with you guys because I feel like that would be something I'll be like, yeah, let's kill some dinosaurs.
I don't think you do that based on what I've seen.
At least for the first week.
At least for the first week. Yeah.
Is it like technical issues and stuff like that?
No, I think it's just there's not a ton like the core gameplay loop you get just kind of burned out on it pretty quickly. There was like not a ton of content and different modes, and so I think it's just a game that's gonna have a pretty short run until they actually get more content into it.
Yeah, because that's
so for Game Pass, it's like, it's perfect. Like I'm totally fine with that. But for paying $60 or $70, like I'd probably be pretty pissed by it.
Yeah, very interesting because I did see they did do like a pre-release video where they showed like a bit of the roadmap for the future. So like the seasons and stuff like that. They're showing.
I mean, if it was a free-to-play game, then great. But
yeah. no,
not for paying full price now.
It's definitely interesting because it didn't get a lot of hype, but it seems like they did put a lot of work into it because this thing has DLC at least until early next year, like new powers for the suits, new areas, new modes, season passes and stuff like that. So it's definitely interesting that it launched like this, where you feel like it's not enough. So we'll see. Hopefully, they patch it up because I do want to. I need to have something that's mindless that I just go in and kill some dinosaurs. But yeah, we'll see. Anything else on your end?
I think that's it. I mean, it's really game night. It's Diablo, some more Street Fighter, which is a good time.
I gotta get back on that.
No one can beat me.
Throw bitch.
Shots fired.
Well,
I even did some matches where I wasn't allowed to throw, and still nobody could beat me.
When you did that against me, I beat you, but whatever. I gotta get back on, and I have been slacking. I have been I've still been watching a bunch of tournaments and stuff like that. Obviously, Evo's coming up in 2-3 weeks, so that's gonna be pretty interesting. And the Rashid hype is very real, so that's pretty fun too. And he's getting released, I believe, on the 25th or something like that. So we'll be able to play him too. So that's gonna be pretty cool. All right.
I'm not buying that shit. Did you buy the season pass or whatever? Okay.
Yeah, I bought the edition with the first year of DLC characters.
Okay.
So I'm gonna beat you with Rashid because you don't have him.
Maybe you could. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Well, that does it. Pretty nice short episode compared to what we've been churning out the last couple of weeks because of all the conventions and keynotes and showcases and all that stuff. Thanks for joining us, guys. Don't forget, if you haven't, please go to our website, pressingbuttons.gg, and follow us in all our social media, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you guys are joining our Discord. The link is on our website. We have a very, very good community of gamers that like to play video games, that like to chat, and do a bunch of random things. So please join us, and we'll see you on the next episode. I'm Hugo. Bye.
I'm Nick. Later.